I have the trust and confidence in it. There's still a lot that we don't know. For example, the government is talking about the penalties for any misuse of data, but of course, the Parliament is yet to debate that, let alone pass that. So that's probably the first thing that we're really waiting on. But on the whole, I think if we look at it from a proportionate perspective, we may be giving up fractions of our privacy with this, but proportionally speaking, I think it's a good thing.
So on this, let's go to the worst case scenario of somehow the data is misused by someone, hackers or the government. What do they actually get? The information we're told is just when your Bluetooth pings with another phone, and that's not identified at that stage. They'll obviously need to be de-identifying keys or whatever you might describe them as. What could they get out of that they can't get already, for example, from Google Maps or Facebook?
Yeah, and that's the interesting part. So call it from a hacking perspective. I don't think the system, I'm not saying it can't be hacked, I just don't think it will be hacked. There's really not much value in it for it. Where I see the shenanigans is the fake text messages that we've been seeing in the last week. Some of them serious and some of them quite funny, particularly around liquor outlets, where it says, we notice you're 300 metres from a liquor outlet, here's a special for you. So I see that as being more of a problem than the hackers. All the information is encrypted that is collected on the device and then sent to the health authorities. I think it's that extension thereafter that if your device, if you get tested positive and they ask for the information, you give it, they then contact the people that were close to you and then they start identifying them. I can see that very extension, any potential problem in a state and territory health department if they don't have the proper policies and procedures for dealing with that information.
Right, but again, I mean, if there's some particularly important meeting someone is having, and this is not an encouragement to do this, but you've got your own safeguard. If you really want, if it's something that you just would never want anyone finding out you're meeting someone, you can turn off the Bluetooth.
Absolutely, and at any stage you can take the app off your device as well if you feel, based on your own concerns, that you don't want to be part of this. People can remove the whole app and the data goes with it, but you're right, at a certain circumstance you could take the Bluetooth off, or you could hide it so deep in a bag so it works as a Faraday cage that Bluetooth isn't getting anywhere near it.
And if any people concerned out there, I mean, the ones going publicly with their concern, wouldn't they be more concerned with the metadata laws that are out there in action? No one seems to be talking about it a lot anymore.
No, and the changes to the Telecommunications Interception and Access Act back in 2015, which compelled telecommunication companies to keep metadata for 2 years, is a bit of a sleeper here. And this will be interesting to the proposed legislation, how that might signal whether that comes part of it or not, because you can bet law enforcement and national security agencies would love to get access to the metadata that's going to come from this.
All right, well, I think we've been emphatic on that one now from your opinions. You've had a bit of time to digest it, although we'll talk again perhaps when Parliament sits and passes these protections you were talking about. Donald Trump, meanwhile, what he's talking about is what the World Health Organization and China knew about COVID-19. He's ordering what's being described as a combing through of communications intercepts. What's he talking about here? Will it be possible? I mean, if there was information known at the time, would they really have communicated it in a way that you can, just whiz it up online?
Well, yeah, the US has an immense signals intelligence capability. They use overt means and they use covert means. So they'll do everything from open source trawling of your websites and Google searches and social media. But then they also eavesdrop on an awful lot of communications by other governments and private sector and public organisations. So you can guarantee they've been doing this they've been doing it for decades in reality, but on this issue, they've been doing this for some weeks in preparation for this now. And they're going to be looking at, what messages might have been sent between officials of agencies with government organisations, what's been said, what meetings have taken place, what metadata they can get, what geolocation data they can get. They'll be hoovering up a lot to sort of see when did this start getting discussed in the global realm.
Just finally, we're talking about deep fakes. So these are photos you see that are faked, but it's come a long way since what we used to see in, say, the 90s or even early 2000s with how real these images look. I was staggered by this one study done, academic analysis done in Australia, that 1 in 5 images you view might be fake. How is that? Is that because just the nature of, if you go to Facebook and Twitter, the nature of what you see there is fake? Are fake images everywhere all over Google as well? How is this figure right?
Well, I find the figure immense. That's an awful high amount. And there's deep fakes, and then we can call them cheap fakes as well, where people, have a go with very cheap software of trying to change voice and those sorts of things. But I think, Tom, this will be one for us to talk about throughout this year in the lead up to the US election, because I'm going to predict there's going to be a lot of deep fakes. Remembering, deep fakes can also be a voice over a telephone call when we have robocalls.
Vision going now with Barack Obama, for example. That was one of the first sort of most famous ones, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was one of the ones. And well, as you mentioned, in the 90s and early 2000s, it was putting celebrity heads on pornographic actors, and then it's transformed and since then. But it's the voice bit that also concerns me. Whether you've got phishing attacks where you've got a senior manager, a CEO in an organisation on a telephone call to someone else to do something. Robocalls could easily be faked, appear to come from a politician to a constituent, and then you've got your social media. So as it is by itself, the photo isn't the issue. It's the surrounding, what it's done with it. So if we look at social media and the run up to the US election, let's just see how fake news is perpetrated through it.